Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness.
This is episode 91.
We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land.
Hello, everyone. It's Julie here, and I'm with Elise, and we have another interesting topic today.
That's right, Julie. So I had sent you an article about the 6 possible health benefits of deep breathing.
So important. I know a practitioner of mine was saying, for me personally, I have to, like for deep breathing for me, I really have to push my shoulders back and just really inhale. So it was a body position, right? But tell me about the article.
So this article was posted on Everyday Health on April 10th, 2023, and it was written by Becky Upham. So in this article, they were talking about how to track stress. We can track our physical wellness through calorie watching or weight watching, but it's really hard to track our stress levels. And stress can really negatively affect our organs and our overall health. So Dr. Yufeng Lin from the Cleveland Clinic of Health Systems in Ohio stated that deep breathing may be able to help with chronic health conditions. Now, we should note that deep breathing should also be used with any medication. It's not meant to replace any medication. But in the article, they stated that deep breathing can help to lower blood pressure, improve quality of life for people with asthma and COPD, help to manage symptoms of depression and anxiety, reduce tension to help with headaches, relieve some symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, helps to reduce the number and severity of hot flashes. So who knew deep breathing could do so much?
It is definitely something when I know I'm feeling a little overwhelmed or I have a lot on my to-do list, just taking that one moment and just filling my lungs. There's an immediate there's an immediate sense of relaxation, right? When I don't know about you, but I know that. And when you're present and you're feeling it, it wipes away that tension. So I can really understand how long term, right? How it can help with some of these other syndromes. So I can understand the long-term benefits of that.
Definitely. I know they had talked about how deep breathing helps to train your diaphragm. And that reminded me of my youth. I took a lot of singing lessons. So we worked a lot on training how to breathe properly to increase the use of your diaphragm. And I had never really thought of the other benefits of it, but it helps to build your lung capacity to help with things like asthma or COPD. And that's the other reason why it might help to relieve some of the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, because you're training your diaphragm. So I thought that was really interesting.
That is. And the fact too, it must be almost muscle memory for you now. If you had that training experience right from the beginning, or the singing training experience right from the beginning, do you find now that you have to think about deep breathing, or is it something that, as I said, muscle memory, that it's just sort of comes naturally to you now?
I think that I do still have to think about it because it's not something I'm practicing regularly anymore. Maybe at the time that I was doing those lessons weekly, I wouldn't have to think about it too much. But now when I do think about it, so if I am sitting and doing some deep breathing, it comes pretty naturally. But I'm not doing it without thinking about it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I just wondered with having the singing lessons, but I know how important that is with singing.
Besides singing or acting, I don't think there was ever a time I was really trained in how to deep breathe. It wasn't something we really practiced at school, but I didn't really discover it until I started practicing yoga. And then I really found an increase in my lung capacity when I was doing yoga regularly. because you're really focusing on that breath.
It also too brings you present in the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
To think about just what's going on, to take that pause and to really listen to your body and what it needs too. I find that deep breathing can help you start to do more of that, of being self-aware, right? So I use it quite often just during my day, and I find it's so beneficial.
I love that. I think I use it the most when I try to fall asleep. I find sometimes my brain just won't stop moving. And if I take time to focus on my breath.
Yes. Like that old, what they used to say, counting sheep, but
exactly.
Yes. Just focusing on your breathing. Good tip.
So I can see exactly how this article is talking about how it can manage maybe some of your symptoms of anxiety. I know that it's actually something that I practice with my students in my classroom. So I teach kindergarten and we do daily meditation. And so we really want to try to make it more meaningful for the students. We find a lot of guided videos where it teaches the students how to breathe deeply. So maybe we practice breathing where we breathe in for 4, you hold your breath for 4, you breathe out for 4, and then you hold for 4. So we call that box breathing. Or we draw a star with our fingers where you breathe in when you go up and breathe out when you go down, creating each corner of the star. Or we also visualize a balloon inside of our tummies. So you breathe in, you fill up that balloon, you breathe out, you deflate it. So I think there's definitely a shift coming with our new generation where they're being taught these strategies to help manage, how to help with their self-regulation skills. So it's pretty exciting to see how that will help.
Oh, Elise, that's awesome. I really like to hear that next generation are learning some of these tools and tips.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. Today's interview is in the category of physical wellness, and we are back talking with professional trainer Andrea Lee. One of our key messages on this podcast and in my book, Accidentally Well, is to consider making physical health a priority. Eating nutritious food in moderation, doing aerobic exercise, core and strength training, getting enough sleep, not for looks, but to feel amazing, to support your mental health and overall wellness. So we enjoy speaking with people like Andrea who can share thoughts on how to work towards physical wellness. So welcome back, Andrea.
Thank you, John.
Andrea is certified with the Canadian Professional Trainers Network since 1996. She's also a CPTN practical assessor. Her background is in post-rehabilitation and holistic nutrition. She began her career in Toronto working with top industry professionals. She lives in Cambridge, and for the past 15 years, she's been running her own personal training studio. She's received the Cambridge Reader's Choice Award for Best Personal Trainer and Overall Service several years in a row. And Andrea creates her personal training programs based on her clients' needs, whether you're a youth athlete, adult athlete, or general fitness enthusiast. And Andrea, you suggested a topic I'm excited to talk about. I wonder about it when I'm doing my own weight training. I'm not quite sure what to do. Breathing to improve movement as one does resistance training. So let me start by asking, what difference does it make how we breathe during resistance training?
Thanks, John. Yes, breathing is very important. And the biggest takeaway, and I know it sounds straightforward, but we always want to breathe. You do not want to ever hold your breath while you're weight training, because holding your breath can actually increase your blood pressure 3-fold.
No way.
Yes. And that can be very dangerous, as we know. Yes. Especially if any clients have any kind of hypertension.
Okay.
Then they want to make sure that you continue to breathe. So inhaling stabilizes the spine. So part of that purpose when you start your weight training, you're inhaling to stabilize your spine. And the inhaling occurs when you are lowering the weight. You're going to inhale.
Can I ask about that too? So
yes.
So I'm imagining like a dumbbell curl, that's when I lower my arm, right?
Yes.
So when
that's
you're
a great
lowering,
example.
What if I'm doing a squat or deadlift. So if I'm lowering my body.
When you're lowering your body.
Okay.
Yes. So depending on the amount of weight, but we'll say for general fitness, we'll take the squat, for example. When you're lowering, you can begin with your inhale as you begin your lowering phase or sitting into the squat. There'll be a slight hold of your breath at the bottom. And then as you start to come back up, you're going to exhale.
Well, I wish you hadn't said that. Because
Do
that's
you
the
hold your
opposite.
breath? Is it the opposite?
I'd be doing the opposite. I think I'd be breathing out on the way down and in on the way up. I can't remember, but I'm glad that you're finally telling me what I should be doing.
And exhaling helps you to focus on that mind-muscle connection.
Really?
Yes, as well.
And just for people listening, that's what we talked about Andrea last time she was on the show, that mind-muscle connection.
Yes. So very important to inhale, stabilize the spine, exhale as you're pushing or exerting.
Okay,
through
and
the
then
exercise.
Obviously all the weights exercises are different. Sometimes you're going up and exerting, sometimes you're going down and exerting. But the point is, when you're doing the exertion, you're breathing out.
Yes, you're exhaling.
And I do like the idea of, like, before you start the exercise, to have a nice breath in if it stabilizes the spine. Like, as soon as you said that, I just tried it. I can kind of feel myself straightening my spine as I breathe in.
Yes.
Interesting.
One way that I teach clients that I learned from a friend and a colleague of mine, you want to create that natural brace.
Okay.
Using your core muscles, but where you want to focus your breath is actually behind and below the belly button.
Right.
So if you were to be standing or sitting and you place your hands on your low back with your fingertips pointing down just at the top of the glutes, and then you slowly wrap your arms around towards the front. So you go around the sides, which is your obliques, and then you bring your fingers towards the front of your body and then turn your fingers so they're facing each other. You'll be at your belly button. That is the area that you want to inhale and exhale into. That's where you're creating that natural brace with the core.
There's been so many times I took Kung Fu decades ago.
Yeah.
I do running, I do other stuff. And every time I hear that advice, and so I've kind of gotten used to that, trying to breathe into that spot. And it makes such a huge difference.
Huge difference.
And even when you're running, which sounds a little unusual, but that's a great tip. And what about, does it matter how slowly or quickly you're breathing? Or are you just breathing in connection with the movement of your body?
Yes, ideally in connection with the movement.
So
yes.
if you happen to be doing a higher tempo exercise, you're breathing a bit faster.
A little bit faster.
If you're happening to doing like one of those slow tempo ones, you're breathing a bit slower.
A little bit slower, but ideally still trying to stay contained within the abdominal wall. So different from relaxing when you're breathing to relax, where you may be really trying to increase and open up the rib cage and expand the rib cage. You're not trying to do that when you are lifting weights. You're trying to stay braced within the core. And if you're lifting fairly heavy, so if someone's in a lower rep range, in that sort of 6 to 10 rep range, so more of that maximal effort, then you're going to be doing a little bit more of that diaphragmatic breathing, where you're thinking about the diaphragm sinking down towards the stomach as you have that inhale.
I keep trying to do these things while you're talking. It's funny.
And then your exhale is with more exertion.
Right.
Yes. So almost like you're blowing up a balloon.
So I think what
that's
you're
more
saying,
of that maximal effort. But overall, you want to maintain the breath, the inhale and the exhale to match your movement.
Yeah. And just for people who don't do a lot of weights, I think what you're saying is, so a couple different variations to do, for example, the same weight exercises, you can use bigger weights and less reps. And I think that's what you're talking about. The maximal?
Yes, the maximal effort would be something that is quite challenging, and you're only going to get a max of 10 repetitions.
Right. Whereas a lot of other times you might be doing 12 to 15, which would be a bit lighter weights. You can't use the
still
same
challenge. Yes, lighter than the 10 rep range. Still maximum effort when you get to 15 repetitions, but you're breathing more to match your movement.
Okay. I have on my list of questions, I think I know the answer now, so I'm not even sure if it's a good question, but I was going to ask, are there times where you should hold your breath? But it sounds like that's not a great idea.
It's not a great idea.
Okay,
no,
so
not
I will
in
not
general.
hold my breath.
Do not hold your breath. Yes. Yeah. General rule of thumb, don't hold your breath. For most fitness enthusiasts, I would say you're not going to hold your breath. There's times where that might happen, or you may use hyperventilating, but they are specific techniques, and it's usually someone who's doing something very specific type of training or very maximal.
So for most of
effort
us going to the gym,
training.
doing a regular weight training, keep breathing.
Keep breathing.
The other thing too is it makes a big difference in running, for example. There's exercises you can do breathing through your nose instead of your mouth. But what about for weights? Does it matter if you're breathing through your nose or mouth? Is it whatever you're comfortable with?
It's usually whatever you're comfortable with. I find it helps with that mind-muscle connection with a lot of clients is to inhale through their nose on the lowering phase and then exhale through their mouth on the exertion.
Well, I like that too, because I know in yoga, they're saying always use your nose. In running, it's really hard to run and breathe through your nose. So like most of us breathe through our mouth. But again, going back to my Kung Fu experience from decades ago, it was kind of like this thought of chi, and you breathe in through your nose. You imagine the air going down the back of your lungs into that spot you mentioned. And then when you breathe out, it's coming up the front and breathing out. And I don't know if it's just my imagination, but when I do think like that, I do feel kind of like a flow.
I was
and
just
it
going to
feels
suggest
wonderful.
that. I was just going to say, I bet if you can do that while you're doing your running, you really do get into that flow state. And I find those who begin to have more experience with weight training and you start to enjoy your weight training, if you can find that flow state and really enjoy the movement and pair the breathing with the movement, it makes a huge difference.
I usually do kind of a big run, and this year I just did it this past weekend, which wasn't I didn't do a marathon, I did a half marathon, but it's kind of like restarting my year again. And every year I like to have something to concentrate on. And I think this year I'm going to try and concentrate on something to do with my leg movement that I'm not going to detail because it's too boring. But maybe I will try, but it's very hard to run and breathe through your nose. It's just that you feel like you're not getting as much oxygen.
It is. It takes a lot of training.
But maybe I will try like once a week to spend 1 kilometer, maybe 2 kilometers trying that flow.
Yes.
And seeing how that works. That would be interesting.
It does. It does. It takes time to get there. Like you said, just breaking it down and trying just 1 kilometer of breathing through your nose. Obviously, you'll start at a slower pace, maybe be in a zone 2 running, but it really does create that mind-muscle connection. It helps with the breathing. It helps with your focus.
Interesting. So I have another kind of off-the-wall question, which is, one thing I've been doing better this time that I've gone back to exercising is I'm more focused on my core while I'm exercising. So like before I start, like, you know how you say you kind of set yourself with your breath in?
Yes.
I often try and think about getting my core kind of strong before I start doing the weights too, or whether it's planks or whatever. I'm trying to think about those muscles. Can you do that and do the deep breathing at the same time?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can, actually. And that's exactly what you want to try and focus on and practice. And being in a plank, any kind of plank, is actually a great way to start focusing on how to contract the muscle, but stay very fluid in your breathing. And it does take practice, and planks are a great way to do it. Also, another way to practice just throughout the day is to contract your fist or contract your bicep, even if you're sitting at your desk, or contract your body, and then feeling all that tightness through the muscle, but now go into your breathing and try to make it smooth and fluid and easy.
So the planks gets me to another question. So for whatever reason, one of the things I picked was a star plank to try and do.
Oh.
And that's when you go on your side and you lift your one arm. So you're on your side plank, but other arm is pointing up and you point your leg up. Well,
yes.
I can't do that yet. So right now I'm just trying to do the star plank with my arm up. It's really hard, and I can't believe how much my arm shakes. But
So one arm up, not the leg up yet.
Not the leg up yet.
Okay,
but I'm
good.
almost at a minute. So I'm getting there. But it's so hard, and like the time just seems to go so slow. And so sometimes I try and just breathe, and I'm breathing relatively slow, like kind of 3 seconds, kind of for, 3 or 4 seconds, maybe even longer. I'm not sure. But when you're doing that kind of stuff, planks, what would your pace of breathing be? Like how many seconds would you have for kind of an in and an out?
1 to 3 seconds in, 1 to 3 seconds out is perfect.
So a nice, calm, deep breath.
Yes, exactly.
I find
but again, not too deep that you're trying to expand the rib cage.
Okay.
You still want to maintain that brace
Okay.
within the abs. You still want to maintain that sort of containment in the core. So you're sending the breath down, like we've talked about already. You're sending the breath down towards the belly button, right behind the belly button, just below the belly button, not out to the sides like you would if you were relaxing.
That's really neat. I haven't focused on that, but I will next time. I'll actually try that. But I can picture it. You're in a core. Sorry, you're in a plank. You're holding your core. I can see that you're trying to breathe deep, keep your core strong, and not get too big on the diaphragm.
Yes, it helps create that brace.
Well, I'm pretty excited now. Tomorrow's actually my running morning. I'm not doing weights till the next day.
Okay.
But I'm excited because I'm going to try some of these things when I'm lifting the weights, and I can already kind of feel it happening. I can feel the sensations that might be happening when I'm lifting the weights and in my core and in the mind-muscle connection. So thanks for all this.
No, you're welcome. Yes, because thinking about it really does help set you up for success before you even start your workout.
I think I was pretty good at the mind-muscle connection, but it never occurred to me to kind of integrate the breathing as well, which I think is going to be pretty interesting.
Great.
As you know, we ask every guest the same question. In the context where we have many areas of wellness that are important to us and not enough time in the day to keep them all going. So we do our mini wellness check-in. So today, are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one thing you can do to foster wellness in that area?
I can definitely foster better wellness in the area of economic wellness.
Which I think is one that many, many people overlook.
Yes.
They think the opposite, really. They're like, I have my economic life and I have my wellness life.
Yes.
Right? I need my balance. Yes, I have to work, but I have to have wellness too. And one of our messages is think about your economics. It's a huge contributing factor to either your wellness or your feeling stressed.
Yeah. Exactly. So when do you make that time for yourself? When do you say no? It's very hard to say no in your economic life, I find.
I think a lot of people too, their answer to economic trouble is to not think about it. So I don't want to think about it. Don't talk to me about economics. Don't talk to me about finances. Too stressed. Let's talk about anything but finances. When that's the main thing they should be talking about right now.
Is finances.
Just get it. Get a plan. It's not going to be perfect. But I'm glad you said that because very few people mention economic, financial wellness. And I just see it as kind of at the heart of so much stress for so many people.
It absolutely can be.
So what can you do?
So I would like to learn more about my investments so I'm looking more at my long-term economic wellness, right, I guess. And I do have some investments, but I don't always know everything. It's not my forte. No. That's why I have my investment planner, but I would like to learn even more from my investment planner and also just learn or just read more upon my investments, how I can diversify.
Well, we've been lucky because I have a friend, Jill Mellinson, who's been on the show quite a few times. And one thing I remember her telling me one time that when people start doing what you're saying mm-hmm. and they start learning more about it and they start seeing how it works better, they get more excited about it. And then that tends to make them do better at it.
Yes.
So then hey, I want to save a little bit more because saving is hard.
Yes.
And so I hope
agree.
I hope you're successful in learning more about it. And I won't be surprised when you do, that it enhances your financial wellness even more.
Thanks,
Okay.
John. This has been fantastic. I appreciate it being on.
Well, it's been great, 2 interviews, and I'm sure I'm going to twist your arm again in a few months and try and get back for a couple more.
Great. I hope you do.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of the adventures of the starving artist. Getting down to Denver, and to Colorado in general, for my friend's wedding was a bit of an ordeal. I got on my first flight in Ottawa, which was just a quick hop over to Toronto, but for whatever reason, we simply sat on the tarmac for like 30 minutes, and the delay unfortunately caused me to miss my connecting flight. There was another guy on the same flight, also trying to make the same connection, and despite us sprinting from our first flight to the second one, we missed the gate by like 2 minutes. So we were pretty disappointed and feeling a little bit defeated, but we checked on the flight board and saw that there was another flight to Denver that was scheduled to leave about a half an hour later. So cutting it close, but still possible. We went over to the Air Canada desk and said, hey, we booked with United, but you guys partnered with them, so it was an Air Canada plane, and can you please get us on this Air Canada flight to Denver? And they basically said, no, you have to go talk to United because you booked through them. So, okay. So we run over to the United desk and we explain the situation, and they basically tell us the same thing in reverse. They say, oh, well, even though it's a United flight, you flew on Air Canada, so you got to go talk to them. And so I said, well, respectfully, Air Canada just sent us here. And they gave me some excuse about how it wasn't in their system and only Air Canada could do it. So the guy and I ran back over to Air Canada's desk and explained what the United people told us, and they just gave us the same answer again. And so it got pretty frustrating, and what ended up happening was I went back over to the United desk and brought one of the people over with me to Air Canada, and I just kind of said, look, I don't care how it gets done, but I need to be on this flight, and please help me. So they kind of tip at the computer and tap away, and they don't really say much, and they're getting it done, hopefully, and this guy and I are getting anxious, and the clock is running out of time, and she eventually hands me over my passport and my boarding pass and just says, run. So I look at the boarding pass, and it's at gate 65. I was standing at gate 99. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Pearson Airport, that's a fair distance. So I basically look for the sign, and this guy and I just start booking it through the airport again for the second time that morning. And we arrive at the gate just in time, breathless and sweaty, and get onto the flight. We made it. So I got some unintentional and unplanned cardio in, but that's never a bad thing, I suppose. Once I got to Denver, I met up with JC and we took care of business, doing pre-wedding stuff, and the rest of the trip went off without a hitch. It was a beautiful time up in the mountains in Estes Park, and the wedding was a wonderful ceremony. I was honored to be a part of it, and thanks very much for having me out. Congratulations to JC and Celia. That's all from me for today. Thanks for listening. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We love our listeners and thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word about Let's Be Well Together podcast. Follow us and rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together and let your friends know about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
It's Elise here, and I'm joined by Sheila, and today we're going to be talking about modifying exercises.
Yeah, this is very important for me, and it's very difficult for me. So great conversation to have, Elise.
I often think about modifying exercises as maybe not doing your best or failing.
Mm-hmm. Or just you're weaker than someone else. Like I find modifying, if I'm not high intensity like everyone else is, that I just can't hack it. I'm not good enough,
right?
So, and it's not at all like that.
No. Let's talk about why modifying might be good for you. So I found this post on Obey Fitness on Instagram. It's Obey_fitness.
and it's entitled 5 Reasons Modifying Exercises Isn't Cheating. And I saw that and thought, what?
It's so cheating, but I agree. Let's change our mindset.
Let's do it. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. It says, you're not working your muscles any less efficiently if you're not doing the maximum expression of an exercise.
Number 2, modifying when you don't feel strong enough decreases your risk of unnecessary injury now and in the future.
Number 3, you're listening to your body, understanding what it needs, and taking action. That's a sign of good body literacy.
Number 4, prioritizing form and control over an intensity or difficulty means you're doing your exercises effectively, even if it looks different.
And finally, you're giving yourself space to progress towards a bigger goal and track your improvements.
Wow, I can relate to a lot of these. So one, of course, I feel like that was the first thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Just because you're not working at the high intensity doesn't mean that you're less efficient.
I know I also recently saw a post that kind of relates to this where it said, can't get 10,000 steps, do 7,000 steps.
Yeah.
Can't work out for an hour, work out for half an hour. Just doing something, even if it's not maybe what you think it needs to be, is better than doing nothing.
And also, it might take you longer, right? Like if you have an injury or you're just slowly trying to get up into that, it takes more energy, it takes more control to do things, then do less, right?
For sure.
For sure. It's still working hard. Number 2, modifying when you don't feel strong enough. Decrease your risk of unnecessary injury, which is another one that's really important to make sure you listen to your body.
For sure.
Sometimes when I am working out, I have to actually stop because you feel a ting or a little, something. And I'm like, well, I got to listen to my body, lower the weights, slow it down, and be in control.
I think one of the most important lessons I learned from you in dance was good pain versus bad pain. So I know sometimes as a class, we would be stretching and we would say it hurts, and you would tell us to focus on our body. And is it a good pain? Like, do you feel your muscles stretching and you feel like it's good for you, or does it hurt badly? Or do you feel something's wrong in your body? So I think tuning into that is so important.
Very important. Definitely. Especially when when you're high fitness level, you are pushing yourself a little bit beyond certain bounds. So you definitely have to listen to your body. Make sure you're not pushing too hard.
And then talking about listening to your body and showing body literacy. I think that's a cool term. Body literacy.
That is a really cool term because it's not just general body literacy. It's your body literacy.
Yes. And I think starting my yoga practice is when I really learned that it was important to listen to your body and that it's okay to do modifications. I remember going to my first few yoga classes and they'd give you options. And usually each option was kind of a step up from the previous one. So I myself would be like, okay, I'm going the hardest. I'm going to do as hard as I can. And then they would really push for you just to listen to your body and see what it needs in that moment. And I was like, what are you talking about? I am here to
I'm in control of my body.
Yes. But I think that body literacy is really important for yourself so that you can prevent any injuries or just see, what's my mindset right now? What kind of energy am I looking for today? What kind of energy do I have to give today?
All those things. So much. And number 4 is prioritizing form so and control. Important. That is really important because just like you said, you're talking about doing the most advanced things. And I found when you're young, especially, you just want to go right into it, the hardest things. But form is so important, especially to avoid injury. And it also helps work more of the core if you're working that form and your control. So I really like that one.
Focus on that form. Yeah, for sure. And then giving yourself space to progress. I think that's so important. I know for me, there's something that I've been working on right now that involves a lot of side planks. And I just find them so difficult. And so modifying how I do the side planks in order to maybe eventually get to it.
Right. Because it's important to keep the form in that side plank. right? So start slow and just work your way up, or you may just be staying at a certain level, and that's fine.
And that's totally fine. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. So
I think it's important to look at modifications and maybe shift our mindset.
I agree.
There's a thought. Popped up while running. Or popped up while bus riding. We're back to another bus pop-up. One of those days when things take a bit of a twist. You think something's happening, something else is happening. Really been enjoying the bus. You've heard me talk about it. And one of the things I like about it is just kind of being around people. I'm one of the people on the bus who's going to work, and someone else is on the bus going to school, and someone else is on the bus going to a friend's house, and someone else is going to the mall. I don't know. I like that feeling of just experiencing life a little bit and not just being in a little bubble in my own car. And for the most part, I'm camouflaged, let's say, just in the sense that nobody really notices me any different than they notice anybody else. Well, one day I got on the bus on the morning and kind of everybody kind of looked at me as I went by. So that got me wondering. So I sat down and I started thinking, why are all these people noticing me? Oh, I wonder if they like what I'm wearing. I wonder do I look like one of these kind of snooty professionals? And they're like, why is he on the bus? Who knows? Maybe he has a DUI and he's not allowed to drive anymore. Like, no, I just like taking the bus. Or who knows? All these thoughts were crossing my head. Why? Because I don't know. That's just the way my brain operates. I get to work and I was still a bit quizzical, wondering what was happening. And the first person I said, hey, John. And they point at my chin. And I'm like, oh, right. I had cut myself shaving and I put a little piece of tissue there to stop the bleeding. And I forgot to take it off. So when I got on the bus, everyone must have thought I was some kind of idiot. And so all those ridiculous explanations I was thinking of and starting to doubt myself or this and that, it was nothing. I had a piece of tissue on my chin and people thought that was strange. It's me. Am I?
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
I'm a lawyer. So one thing I always told my kids growing up and told Sheila is never admit anything. You never admit anything.
Guilt, never admit
Never admit guilt
wrong.
for sure.
You're never wrong.
Respectfully say, I'm sorry, I can't speak with you about that. But don't admit guilt. And here I am, I'm about to admit guilt. We are driving up to the Collingwood condo. It's about a 2-hour drive. And just over halfway on the way here, there's a Tim Hortons we often stop at. Grab a coffee, maybe once in a while Timbits. No,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. We're like, should we do?
I shouldn't say that I sometimes eat Timbits because I'm supposed to be Mr. Healthy. But we did. So anyway, we're driving up and we had left early on a Friday. So I'm going to guess it was like 3:00.
Yep.
And Sheila, we were pulling up and right by the same spot, there's a grocery store. Mm-hmm. And it's in kind of further away from Collingwood. So it's in kind of just like a regular. It's in Shelburne, which is just kind of like a regular town. And Sheila thought, why don't we stop at the grocery store? We could stretch our legs and maybe the prices are a bit better or maybe there's different selection because we always go to the same place. Doesn't have a huge selection for meats, etc. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, he just wanted to get there.
We're driving.
Yeah.
What a crazy idea.
Well, the other problem I had was that I was a little hungry.
Right. And honestly, that's kind of what tipped it for me. She said, well, we can get a snack too. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. If you really want to get cheaper prices, we will stop. But I still didn't think it was going to be a good idea in the sense of what would be the difference in terms of getting the groceries. Basically what I'm saying is I loosened up a bit. I've loosened up over time. I used to be like, no, I'm adamant. I don't want to do it. Don't do it. But over time I've gotten more, yeah, okay, let's give it a shot, whatever. So I knew immediately that it was going to work out because when we went in, there was all regular people, right? Everyday regular people.
Yep, doing their grocery shopping.
And wow, they had such a great selection of everything.
Like a normal grocery store. I find Collingwood is a little bit more suited for that quick buy.
Well, at least where we shop. I'm sure there's other areas, grocery stores.
Yeah, maybe.
But the one we shop at is more, you're right, it's almost more touristy or something.
Yeah, and pre-bagged or pre-packaged and that kind of, a lot of that stuff. Right?
So it had all the vegetables that we like. It had lots of selection for meat. It had basically everything we needed.
Everything you need.
And so I had to admit that it was a good idea.
And it was great. Yeah, and it was great because then we get to Collingwood and we didn't have to stop at the grocery store. And that's kind of nice because it's busy. And it was a Friday of a long weekend. So I was thinking it would probably be really busy at the grocery store, but you just want to get to your place. And we already had all our food. And
that made a big difference to me because a lot of times it is a bit of a drag. You get in and you unpack everything, you set up, and then you're like, okay, now we have to go to a store run. And this time we didn't.
Yeah. And the only problem is that I wasn't really ready to shop. So I wasn't thinking, okay, what do we need? So we get here and we forgot milk.
Which is item number one for us.
Item number one for us, just because we both take milk in our coffee, and like I don't wake up in the morning without my coffee. So who wants to wake up in the morning and go get milk? So John ran out that night and did get milk. That was good. But we were going to talk about other things that
one
have
other
changed.
Admission number 2, and that's it, people. I'm not making any more admissions after this.
I told him on his deathbed he's going to be like, I admit that everything you said, Sheila, was right and I was wrong. No, I should admit that you're always right.
And I said, if I can make it that long, if I can make it to my deathbed,
I'm not doing it then.
Why would I give in then? No way.
Because
I'm holding out for the last 10 minutes.
I still disagree. I still think you will give in.
We'll see. But like, I'm the kind of person who thinks it's funny when you see the mat outside a person's house. It says, come back with a warrant. Like,
I've never seen that.
Yeah. There's one that says, come back with a warrant.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not admitting anything. I'm not letting you look at anything. That's my kind of personality.
Oh my goodness.
But the other one just today was, we're here and there's a really nice recreation center and it has a big pool and a hot tub. And I don't know why, but lately I just haven't felt like swimming very much. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, right now, I'm getting back into weights, but I have a bit of a sore back, so I can't really do weight exercises. I have to wait it out till my back's feeling better. But Sheila, so yesterday, you want to go swimming? You want to go hot tub? I'm like, no. But today I'm like, okay. And sure enough, I go, the pool was great. It wasn't too cold. I'm a wimp. And the hot tub was great and it helped my back. So,
and I did say,
2 things, unfortunately, regrettably, that Sheila was right on.
That's right. I'm right. I'm always right.
I'm holding out. You're not getting that deathbed admission. Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way. That's the end of the episode. It is sign-off time, and I'm here with Sheila and Elise.
Hi.
Hello.
I am actually on vacation. I have no excuse. Everybody should make sure they take their vacations. But this year, one thing led to another, and I just kept putting it off, and I never took one all year. And I really wouldn't have even got this one off. I had a month-long trial scheduled for October, and I really thought it was going to go. Most things don't go to trial in litigation. Most things get resolved, settled. But I thought this case was going to go to trial, but it settled last minute. So I said to Sheila, I want to take a week off. And so we're spending a week up at our place in Collingwood. It's been amazing.
Very nice.
But I did fall into that kind of North American trap where you have your holiday coming up, and then the week before you get away, it's so stressful. Like I couldn't even make my list of things I had to get done. I wanted to make it on Monday, but I kept getting new stuff every day. So I couldn't even make that list until Friday. And I never ever did make that list, but luckily I did get through everything I needed to get through. And also luckily I'm got really great support from people who I work with, who are there to step in and oversee things while I'm gone. So the bad news was, I leave all stressed out, but the good news is I'm already starting to de-stress. It's only Monday. We have this whole week coming up, and we're doing kind of outdoorsy type stuff. We don't have anything fixed, no fixed plans yet, but we had a really cool hike yesterday, and today we had a really nice long bike ride had a nice lunch. So I think after this week, I'm really going to be chill and feeling good. How about you, Elise?
That sounds lovely. I am having a normal week. So it's just been a lovely normal week last week. And I got to take a new kind of art class, which was pretty fun. I did my printmaking class, and it was also a book building class. So we did printmaking and book building together to create these kind of shadow books. And that was a lot of fun. I think I am realizing now that I do enjoy visual arts. As a child, I think I never really took to drawing or painting. And that seemed to be what I thought visual arts was. It just wasn't a skill that came naturally to me. So I've been exploring these new forms of visual arts, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So that's been the highlight of my week. How about you, Sheila?
Well, interesting. I have a few things to say. One, as a child, you really did like pottery and that type of things, hands-on kind of visual art. So it doesn't surprise me that you're doing this as an adult. But two, when John says we went for a bike ride, we did a 40-kilometer bike ride today. Yes.
Whoa.
It was a long bike ride. So
You can catch it on our reel next week.
yeah. And it is a little cold here. Yesterday, it was incredibly windy. So, you have those issues when you're up north in autumn or this weather, but we are having a great time and really, really getting to know Collingwood. So that's really exciting. Last week was actually a very busy week for me. I worked my usual work, but I also taught dance, which is something that I haven't done in a while. And I really enjoyed that. And then on Thursday, John and I went to Black and Gold, which is something that we've really enjoyed doing. It's
a fundraiser for the Kitchener-Waterloo Art Gallery.
So we haven't gone to that since COVID, I think.
They haven't been able to have an in-person one.
So that was really nice. And it's a dress-up event, so that was fun.
And we got a new piece of art.
Yes. And we know the artist, so that was really nice too. So we got to do that. And then we got to build a few things for our two sons before we left, and then up to Collingwood we go.
Putting furniture together when they moved into a place, because everything comes in boxes now. It's
Everything.
great. It's great to ship, but then you have to put it together.
And you got so much boxes and styrofoam and screws and putting it all together. So we've had some fun doing that this week. So it's been incredibly fun and doing different things. And now we are on holiday. So that was really nice. Today we were sitting drinking coffee, and then it was like 10 o'clock. We were like, oh my goodness, it's 10 o'clock already. We've got to get going.
What are we going to do?
We've got things to do on this holiday. That was really enjoyable, just to sit and relax and just enjoy our day. So hopefully we have a lovely holiday up here, and John will be able to unwind and breathe a little.
Yeah, we had a busy week working and outside work last week, and now it's time to fill it with nature and walks and all kinds of stuff.
So that's all I have to say. Are you all done, John and Elise?
Yep, all done.
All done.
Okay, well, I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast, and we will catch you next week. That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.